and they don't really like me. Cause I can fuck your bitch and fuck your mom and auntie.
Dude that hangs out in my room and just like talks about dark stories, bro. I swear I have a person.
That was kind of a banger, because them niggas was fucked up individuals, let me tell you.
Welcome back to another video today by Coffee House Crime. Our case today looks at the self-absorbed life of Samantha Wohlford, and how her thoughtless tendencies resulted in the death of her own husband. If you're new to the channel, I post both solved and unsolved cases here on a weekly basis, so if true crime is your kind of thing, then please consider subscribing to Coffee House Crime.
True
Samantha
crime,
Wohlford
the streets of LA.
Samantha Wohlford. She's an interesting case, alright? But what made her the way that she is? Was her crime a product of selfish intent? And did you know that she has a Jailbabes account? Let's take a look.
Huh?
Pull up a seat, grab a coffee and sit back. This is the case of Samantha Wohlford. Before jumping into today's case, I wanted to shout out to this video's sponsor, Noom. Not even 10 months ago, Coffee House Crime didn't exist.
Fucking Noom
and
sponsor. It was a spooky ride.
Much like last week's case, this one has a Samantha and also a Mount Pleasant. But don't be fooled. Both of those things couldn't be any more different to one another. Today we're taking a trip to Mount Pleasant, the largest city in Titus County, Texas. Considering itself to be the gem of northeastern Texas, the city is famous for, well, actually it's not famous for anything. And with a population of around 16,000 residents, the city wouldn't even fill a fifth of Wembley Stadium. But maybe size does not necessarily matter. The city may be small, but it makes up for it in outdoor activity and diverse culture. And here we also find the home of Samantha and Ernie. Samantha Wohlford was born on the 28th of August 1989. She was the oldest of 3 children. And throughout the 90s and into the new millennia, she had a relatively pleasant upbringing in her loving family of 5. Moving into her teens, she was an alternative-styled young woman, and as she grew up, she was heavily involved in the internet age, frequenting social media throughout her life and rarely seen without an internet connection. At the age of 19, Samantha, who was still in high school, met her first boyfriend. A boyfriend who, in that very same year, would become the father to her first 2 children, a set of twins. The twins were an accident. There's nothing wrong with that, but unfortunately the relationship would not last long either. The two split up very shortly after Samantha gave birth, leaving her to be a single mother all on her own. With that said, she found herself in a very difficult situation. She had 2 mouths to feed, yet she had barely any money, no skill, no profession, and no real plan. It seemed as if, in this stage of her life, Samantha was at the very beginning of a long, skint road. And that would be the case, until she found herself walking into a tattoo shop a few months later in the year 2008. Although the money was tight, Samantha felt that she deserved to treat herself every now and then. And so, under that philosophy, she made her way down to the local tattoo shop. She had plenty of them already, and one more wouldn't hurt. But while there, she bumped into another customer. Someone who she had never met before. His name was Ernie, and following the abrupt encounter, the two would carry on talking before eventually hitting it off. Not long after that, they found themselves in a relationship, the true beginning to our story today. Ernie, whose full name is Ernest Lee Ibarra, was born on Christmas Day of 1985. He too grew up with a loving family, and although his parents had split up, he maintained regular contact with them both. Ernie was described by his family as a well-natured and caring young man, who was willing to give the shirt off his back to help anyone in their time of need. He was a bookworm in his younger years, though as he aged, he found his true calling in gaming, avidly spending many hours on Halo, Call of Duty, and World of Warcraft.
You lost me at
After
World
high
of
school,
Warcraft.
he enrolled into computer classes and took on work as a woodworker at Talco Wood Crafters, until eventually and finally, Samantha would walk into his life. In the very beginning, things were going good for the two. Although Samantha didn't work, Ernie brought in enough money to keep the 4 of them financially afloat. However, just 3 years later, in the year 2011, Samantha would fall pregnant again. This time Ernie was the father, and between the two of them, they would bring in another set of twins to the world. There were 2 additional mouths to feed, but Ernie would offset those finances by taking another job at Little Caesars, a pizza shop down in Mount Pleasant. But in the year 2013, the couple would quite literally do it again, and at the age of 24, Samantha would give birth to her 5th and final child, a boy. It was at this point in their relationship that things started to become more turbulent. Sure, the 2 lovebirds did have their small arguments at the beginning of their story, but things seemed to worsen as the relationship progressed. And some of these arguments seemed rather abstract. Ernie, being an avid gamer, played many role-playing games online, meaning that he would roleplay as a character in a virtual world with other gamers who were doing the same thing. And in one of these games that he frequented, his online character would marry another player. The virtual marriage made Samantha extremely jealous. The 2 ended up
Are you fucking serious?
Fight. And so, to quell the argument, Ernie proposed to Samantha. How romantic? Ernie's gaming habits would often cause rifts between the 2. Samantha claimed that he was vacant and never spent time with her or the children. But Ernie enjoyed gaming. It was how he relaxed, especially after working 2 jobs to keep the family afloat.
Hey, let this nigga fucking play the
But due to Ernie's
game.
absence and Samantha's desire for attention, she turned to YouTube to satiate her appetite,
The fuck?
creating the username of Simply Manic 6075.
There you go, find your own fucking hobby. Damn.
She would initially post commentary-like content on daytime TV shows, but as time progressed, they became more self-focused.
Hey guys, I was asked to do a video 15 weird things about me. So, number 1, I have twins. Every time I get pregnant, I have 2 sets of twins. Number 4, I am completely obsessed with vampires. I think they're amazing and beautiful and awesome, and like I love vampire movies. Of course, I'm not a big Twilight fan. I don't like Twilight. Number 5, I am a complete makeup addict. I probably have $3,000-$4,000 invested in makeup. I am obsessed. Number 6, body modifications. I think are amazing. Like, I'll sit and watch YouTube videos of people getting their tongues split. Number 8, I'm one of the most opinionated people you will ever meet, and I freaking hate it when people sit there and like, if I have an opinion on something and they want to argue my opinion, it pisses me off really bad. Number 12, I'm a complete dreamer.
That's because you be wrong.
Possible.
Your opinion be
14,
wrong.
I've always wanted to be an actress. Okay, well, alright. I love you guys. Bye.
Samantha started creating short
That's exactly
vlogs
how
about her
niggas
life.
is when they opinions
And in
be
these
fucking
vlogs,
wrong.
she would
They hate
express
when
that she was
somebody
finding
challenge
life
their
hard,
opinion.
complaining about her relationship and her children. However, she would admit that she did nothing all day, apart from watch Netflix and play video games. And all the while, her children could be heard running around and screaming in the background.
I don't understand. I mean, stupidity just pisses me off. Yes, I know stupider is not a word. I understand that, and it makes me sound like a ding-dong, but hey, it's cool. I am who I am. But stupidity really pisses me off. There should be a vaccine made or a colony where everybody that is stupid goes and is stuck in this little place by themselves, or it should be mandatory vaccinated.
Bitch, what?
That you have to get a shot to cure stupidity. Because the world really needs to be rid of stupidity. That is something that pisses me off way quicker than anything else.
Much like many of us who hope to make it big here on the platform, Samantha had a genuine belief that her YouTube career was going somewhere, and that people liked her content. Which is fair enough, but normally this kind of thing takes a lot of time and dedication. And to Samantha, she was already a mother to 5 children. So, when Samantha made that decision to dedicate all of her time to YouTube, it came at the cost of her children's care and her husband's time. Having always wanted to be an actress, Samantha leaned into the idea. And all in the meanwhile, she was becoming more and more obsessed with her online presence. She thought that if she kept at it,
You literally got
YouTube would
all
be
them
her big
kids.
break. But sadly,
One of
there
them
was a
niggas
stark
has gotta
contrast
be
between her self-perception
talented at
and
something.
reality.
2 sets of twins.
Samantha believed that she was big. Fame is relative,
And a 5th
but her
kid.
videos were rarely hitting
One of
over
them
100
niggas gotta be
views at a
talented.
time. Moving forward, Ernie's and Samantha's relationship would continue to fall into despair. Putting it bluntly,
We better turn them
they were
niggas into the
desperately
Jackson
unhappy.
5 or some shit.
The partnership had matured to the 2 both feeling neglected by one another, And although they were attempting to keep the large family together, things were tough. Samantha would waste no time in letting everyone know how unhappy she was. She would often broadcast her problems to friends, and, even worse, more publicly to the internet. She described how awful Ernie was as a father, and told people that he was abusive to her and the children.
That's crazy.
Even reporting this to police on more than one occasion. But despite the accusations, there never was any evidence to back this up, and Ernie's family
She just
insisted that
getting on
Samantha was
YouTube,
making
just
it up for attention.
saying this shit about him.
Nevertheless, in this particular case, it can't be confirmed or denied. As time went on, Samantha's toxic behaviour escalated, and by the end of 2014, her complaining had well and truly built an artificial wall between her and Ernie. And with that division brought more arguments. Arguments that would further drive the two apart, causing further stress, more negativity, and more complaining. And eventually, this vicious cycle would be the catalyst to a tragic end. In the early hours of the 20th of February 2015, Titus County Police received a call from Samantha's aunt.
Titus County 911, what's your emergency? I have a home invasion. My niece is tied up. She's tied up. She is tied up and gagged. I am untying her. What is the victim's name? Samantha Wohlford. She's saying that they hit her husband in the face about 5 times, drug him out.
It seemed that something terrible had happened to the young family. At 2:19 AM, when police arrived on site, there they found Samantha distraught and in panic. It seemed like in the dead of night, 3 men who were all dressed in black broke into Ernie's and Samantha's home with a mission to abduct Ernie. Samantha was removed from the bed and pinned to the ground, while Ernie was dragged downstairs and beaten with a pistol. And upon being dragged downstairs with him, the masked intruders made sure that Ernie was looking at Samantha while he was being hit. Samantha was then taken upstairs, bound and gagged, and after a short period of silence, she managed to make her way to the phone and call for help. And while she was okay, Ernie was nowhere to be found. Samantha's aunt, who was called by Samantha, would arrive to find the front door in pieces, and would find Samantha partially tied up and gagged. Samantha would claim that she had no idea who the masked men were, primarily because the men were dressed from head to toe in black, but she did have a theory as to why Ernie could have potentially been targeted. The house was thoroughly inspected by police, and yet, Samantha's story just didn't seem to add up. For example, how did Samantha untie herself? And why did she call her aunt instead of police? The crime scene itself seemed to be rife with inconsistencies to Samantha's actual story. For example, there was a general lack of blood at the crime scene, and no one heard the aggressive entry, and how did the assailants know which room to target in the first place? Not to mention that at the time, all 5 children were sleeping in the same room, which seemed convenient because normally they would sleep scattered around the house. It wouldn't take police long to start doubting Samantha's story. In fact, they would take her down to the local police station pretty much straight away to begin questioning. And as they dug deeper and deeper into the mindset of Samantha Wohlford, her story would change by the minute.
Okay, see, I knew. You know, Sam, you know I'm not here lying to you. You know I know.
The only other thing I know, and I don't even know if I know,
Okay.
but it's a suspicion.
Okay,
I've been up at the hospital with my friend Charlotte.
okay.
And she's got a guy there, and I swear to God I cannot go up there that I said any of this.
Okay.
Because they have a lot of friends around here, and my life will be in a lot of danger.
Okay.
I'm talking to my friends about my problem.
He's talking about how a man shouldn't treat a woman that way and how you don't do those things to a person,
Okay.
and he's gonna deal with the situation. I
Okay.
didn't take him seriously.
Okay, you see, Sam, you know who did this. Okay, who is this guy?
His name's John.
John who?
His Facebook is Rebel, John Rebel.
When a story changes within a case, much like this one, it's usually because the storyteller has something to hide. I'm not talking about myself here, I'm talking about Samantha, and what she was trying to do was to preserve her innocence to police. Police knew that, but Samantha, she was playing a game. And so police, they had to play. The next step was to understand Jonathan's involvement in Ernie's disappearance. Even from a very young age, Jonathan Sanford grew up being a bully and would often get in trouble. In fact, ironically, he was fresh out of prison for assaulting his cousin just prior to Ernie's disappearance. Being described as an unapologetic man who didn't care if his actions were illegal or immoral, police were expecting a real interesting conversation with this man. Following Samantha's revelation, both Jonathan Sanford and his brother-in-law, Jose Antonio Ponce, were arrested and brought in for questioning, along with one further suspect, Octavius Rhymes. Sounds like a real supervillain. And despite dropping their names in hot coffee, Samantha was still insistent that she had nothing to do with the incident. It wasn't until they seized Samantha and her fellow detainees' phones that this case was blown wide open, and the true nature of Samantha's involvement to her husband's murder came to light.
You set it up.
It turns out that during the initial search of the house, Samantha asked police if she could go call her mum. The officer complied, and it was at this time at 2:30 in the morning that she also sent Octavius a message saying, "Kill phone, shut that shit down." And shortly after, upon hearing chatter over police radio, she sent another text message saying, "Ditch phone, move." By keeping her enemies close, and by that I mean police, Samantha was attempting to help her hit squad avoid the law. But despite these brave attempts, she failed to ever think about digital forensics, should they ever get a hold of any of their phones. Unsurprisingly, when confronted about the evidence, Samantha tried her best to make an excuse. According to her, she had taken Ambien that night, a drug prescribed to help her sleep, which can have many side effects that include memory loss, confusion, and hallucinations. She therefore claimed that she didn't remember sending any of those texts. This wouldn't aid her case, however, as once apprehended, it wouldn't take long at all for the truth to come spilling out
on your husband?
Jonathan decided to come clean to police, giving them the reasoning and the location of Ernie's body. Jonathan, along with Jose and Octavius, agreed in helping Samantha get rid of Ernie, after she had told Jonathan and his girlfriend that he abused both her and the children, to which Jonathan offered to, quote, "take Ernie out of the picture." The initial plan was to plant methamphetamine on Ernie and then get him arrested. But after securing the drugs and then re-evaluating their plan, it was agreed between the four that it would be easier to just kill Ernie instead. In preparation, Samantha gave all 5 kids a high dose of Ambien to help keep them asleep.
Dog.
She tucked them away in a far-off room and left the door unlocked for Ernie's assailants. They would then stage a break, making it look like forced entry, and abduct Ernie before hijacking Samantha's car. Ernie had no idea who these men were, where they were taking him, or what they were going to do with him. He was reportedly begging his assailants not to kill him or his wife throughout the entire journey. Jonathan then led Ernie and the other hitmen to a remote forest in Sandcrossing, Camp County. And when deep enough in the woods, Jose shot Ernie before the group left the body.
This just really ain't shit.
Definitely did. Okay, what we need to do now? Oh yeah, he's dead. He's not gonna be alive.
Following the discovery of Ernie's body, both Jonathan Sanford and Jose Ponce pleaded guilty to aggravated kidnapping and first-degree murder, both of them receiving a sentence of 50 years apiece during their trials in April 2016. And in December of that same year, Octavius Rhymes went to trial. Although he did not plead guilty, he was eventually found guilty of the same crime, receiving a combined sentence of 98 years. And finally, in September 2017, Samantha Wohlford's trial for the kidnapping and murder of her husband would begin. Samantha's claims that a medication altered her state was not believed by the jury, and following a relatively short deliberation, she too was sentenced to 50 years for her involvement in kidnapping alone.
Dumbass fucking bitch.
For the murder of her husband, Samantha was sentenced to 99 years, to be
Dumbass
served
fucking
consecutively
bitch.
after 50 years for kidnapping. She is now serving her sentence at the Carroll Young Complex in Dickinson, Texas. This may be an obvious statement to make this late in the video, but turns out after all that Samantha had everything to do with her own husband's disappearance and murder.
Whoa, would you
From
look at
initiation
that?
to discussion, to action, to execution.
That's
She was the mastermind behind this.
dog. You said your kids was in the house too, though. Like that's fucking weird as shit.
Entire process. Not that you can really call Samantha a mastermind, as she clearly didn't do a good enough job of it. Samantha had a very abstract view when it came to the real world, but even in her deluded mindset, she was very conscious of what she was doing. She wanted to be out of a relationship.
Like, yo, why would you
career,
even invite that
and
type
the
of
loss her
danger
husband
around your
would
fucking
give her a lot of
kids?
attention and a lot of sympathy. Apparently, those two things were more important to her than the life of a hard-working father who took on 2 jobs to keep his wife and his kids afloat. She wanted to
He
become
was
the
just
poor
working
single mother
hard,
that everyone
bro.
would feel sorry for.
He was working so fucking
Instead,
hard.
she became the monster that no one loves and no one appreciates. But hey, bringing the mood up just a little bit, did you know that Samantha is now available to chat via Jailbabes? You now have the opportunity
2
to
jobs,
speak
working
to
overtime, bro. He tired of shit, bro. He just want to chill with the boys and play Call of Duty. That's all he want to do. And the next thing you know, like, while you sleep with your wife, niggas just run up in your crib, kidnap you, and kill you. Whole time, your wife was playing too much Call of Duty. Wasn't showing her attention. That's why you died. Bro, how can you even live with yourself doing some shit like that? That is just so fucked up. These people have been really fucked up today. Like, Jesus.
I know it hurts sometimes.